Do you think the F-35 is the only game in town for fifth-generation fighters? Think again. Right now, 3 standout designs lead the pack, each representing a global military heavyweight. The United States with its F-22, China with the J-20, and Russia with the Su-57. These jets aren't getting as much spotlight nowadays because the focus has shifted toward multirole aircraft. But there was another design from about 10 years ago that almost joined this elite group. This overlooked contender was poised to be a true air superiority champ, but it's largely slipped from memory, even though it still holds potential. That aircraft is the Shenyang J-31, a story that began in the early 2000s. As is typical with China's military projects, details about the J-31 are kept tightly under wraps. Back in the 1990s, China aimed to kick off its own fifth-generation fighter program. By 2002, the People's Liberation Army Air Force publicly announced a competition for their next-generation fighter. In the West, the JXX program was a hot topic. Information about it trickled out to the public through sources like Jane's, revealing glimpses of potential designs and what the PLA Air Force envisioned for their next-generation fighter. The 3 major contenders were Chengdu Aircraft Corp., known for the JF-17 Xi'an Aircraft Industrial Corp., the builder of several of China's medium bombers like the H-6 and JH-7, and Shenyang Aircraft Corp., considered China's veteran in military aircraft manufacturing. By 2008, it was announced that Chengdu's concept had been selected for further development. Fast forward to 2011, and the first prototype took to the skies, later dubbed the J-20 Mighty Dragon. Since then, the aircraft has seen significant upgrades, officially entering service in 2017, with plans for a 2-seater multirole variant on the horizon. Interestingly, in 2008, Shenyang had proposed a larger 5th-generation design to compete with the J-20, but it didn't make the cut. Shenyang took matters into its own hands, opting to self-fund in hopes of attracting foreign investors for their export-ready 5th-generation fighter. By 2011, word on the street was that a working concept, dubbed the F-60, was completed. The following year, a scale model of this aircraft emerged, known as the J-31 or FC-31, bearing a striking resemblance to a blend of the F-35 and F-22. In October 2012, the aircraft made its maiden flight away from the public eye. It wasn't until 2014 that the working aircraft was publicly unveiled. Shenyang clarified that this was a private venture, with no military backing. The initial public reaction was lukewarm, highlighting several potential flaws. However, a revamped version took to the skies at the Dubai Air Show in 2015. Over the years, rumors about the aircraft's fate were rampant. Some believed the project was dead, while others suggested it was still being marketed as a rival to the F-35. In 2018, Chinese state media reported that both the Navy and Air Force were evaluating an updated version of the aircraft, indicating renewed interest in its potential. By 2020, whispers were circulating that a 3rd iteration of the aircraft was potentially complete. This time, the project garnered government funding, leading to significant upgrades including a revamped airframe, advanced avionics, redesigned jet nozzles, and a reduced radar cross-section. Unofficially named the J-35, this version marked a shift in its intended role. Initially, the J-31 was envisioned as an air superiority fighter, but rumors hinted at a new direction. One of the designers suggested that this aircraft might be marketed internationally as a rival to the F-35, emphasizing strike capabilities over pure air-to-air combat. In 2021, the aircraft made another public appearance, this time sporting a proper paint job. It was showcased in what appeared to be a naval configuration, raising eyebrows. Reports suggested that this was not the 3rd variant from 2020, but rather a carrier-ready version derived from the 2nd variant seen in 2015. This naval version is believed to be designed for operations on the Type 003 carrier, which features an electromagnetic catapult system. As with most 5th-generation aircraft, its true capabilities remain shrouded in mystery, with deliberately vague specifications being released to the public. Even with limited information, some educated guesses can be made. Observers have noted that during the initial flights in 2014, the aircraft appeared to be in its infancy. One glaring issue was the engine efficiency, with unburnt fuel leaving smoke trails, reminiscent of older US and Russian engines. While some speculated that the first prototype used Russian Klimov RD-93s, it's more plausible that it was equipped with domestically produced WS-13s. Additionally, the frequent use of afterburner during early displays suggested possible aerodynamic inefficiencies, although this remains speculative. It's crucial to remember that these tests took place about a decade ago, when China was still grappling with producing domestic jet engines for combat aircraft. Recent reports, however, suggest significant progress. Chinese designers seem to have made breakthroughs, replacing reliable Russian engines in their Sukhoi-based designs, such as the J-11 and J-15, with homegrown engines. Given Shenyang's role in these advancements, it's reasonable to assume that similar technologies are being applied to their private projects. Funding is a big deal here. The aircraft probably started as an idea post-2008, with private cash fueling its creation. They managed to churn out the initial prototype in less than 4 years, debuting it in 2012. Given the swift turnaround from concept to reality, it's fair to cut the initial design some slack. Now, with time and some government dollars, more resources and talent can be poured into the project. In the broader picture, things are moving steadily. But let's talk about China, a whole different ballgame. With their enormous economy and heavy investment in R&D, who knows where their aeronautics sector will be in 10 years? China's production capabilities are on a constant upswing, both in military and commercial sectors. Over the years, we've seen Chinese products evolve from low-quality knockoffs to high-quality, competitively priced designs that often surpass their rivals. This kind of progress is likely happening in their aeronautical sector too. If their missile programs are any indication, the J-31 has probably seen significant improvements since its 2014 iteration. It's also worth considering that the J-31 might incorporate technology derived from the still classified F-35. This isn't just idle speculation. Back in 2009, the Joint Strike Fighter program database was hacked, resulting in the theft of terabytes of data. Experts believe this data breach was orchestrated by Chinese operatives. So, hypothetically, the J-31 could evolve into a formidable aircraft. While many are quick to dismiss Chinese designs, Shenyang Aircraft Corporation has the chops to pull it off. Shenyang has been around since the Korean War, a longevity not shared by many of today's aircraft manufacturers. They've designed numerous indigenous aircraft, but their experience with license-built Russian planes is particularly noteworthy. This history includes the contentious Sukhoi upgrade programs, which led to multiple intellectual property disputes in 2004. The turning point came in 1996, when Shenyang obtained the rights to produce 200 Su-27U BKs under license. These kits were supplied by the Komsomolsk-on-Amur aircraft plant, renowned for its top-notch Sukhoi builds, including the Su-35 and Su-57. Initially in 1998, Komsomolsk-on-Amur critiqued the first batch of Chinese-built Su-27s, finding them subpar and necessitating intervention from their own staff for rebuilding. But by 2003, the narrative had changed. The Russians acknowledged that Shenyang had achieved high production quality and had started incorporating locally produced airframe parts. The initial batch of aircraft, dubbed the J-11A, was decent, but the Chinese aimed for further advancements. By 2004, Shenyang rolled out the J-11B, heavily incorporating domestic airframe parts and enhanced subsystems. Despite violating the co-production agreement, Chinese domestic production capabilities were advancing rapidly, and by 2011, reports indicated that the J-11Bs were comprised of up to 90% domestically produced components. Several variations, including two-seater and naval models, were also in production. Shenyang continued to develop other domestic versions to match various flanker variants, such as the J-15, analogous to the Navy's Su-33, and the J-16, an air superiority aircraft similar to the Su-35 or Su-30M. It's important to highlight that Shenyang's models might surpass their flanker counterparts in terms of onboard systems and avionics upgrades. Given China's proficiency in reverse engineering and enhancing existing technologies, it's no surprise they have managed to make significant advancements. Let's dive into the supposed specs of the J-31. We'll start with its stealth features. As a fifth-generation aircraft, stealth is key if it ever enters active service. Unlike the J-20, which utilizes materials specifically designed to lower radar visibility, the J-31 reportedly uses a stealth coating to minimize reflectivity. With new engine nozzles and WS-19 engines, project officials claim that the aircraft has a low radar signature in both the Ku and L bands. However, these stealth attributes won't be fully validated until tested in real combat scenarios. Now, onto firepower. The aircraft is rated to carry 18,000 pounds of ordnance, with 4,400 pounds internally. That's pretty solid. For context, the F-35 also claims an 18,000-pound payload capacity, with a slightly higher internal load of 5,700 pounds. When it comes to speed, the J-31 is said to hit Mach 1.8, a bit faster than the F-35. This likely includes super cruise capability, which is common in fifth-generation fighters. The service ceiling is just over 50,000 feet, similar to the F-35. The real standout difference is range. The J-31 reportedly has a range of 1,200 kilometers on internal fuel. In contrast, Lockheed states the F-35 can travel 1,200 miles, which is nearly 2,000 kilometers. The difference in range is a big deal if the J-31 is being positioned as a rival to the F-35. Imagine these jets squaring off over East Asian waters. In places like the South China Sea, where numerous island bases make refueling easier, aircraft with shorter ranges can manage. But in a real fight, having a longer reach gives a strategic edge. If your carriers or bases can strike enemy targets while staying out of their range, you're in a much better position. This range factor becomes even more critical in the vast expanses of the Pacific or Indian Oceans. These areas could see a replay of historical showdowns between Asian and Western forces, reminiscent of World War II battles. Sure, air refueling can stretch the range, but tankers hanging around in contested airspace usually need fighter escorts, which means your carrier group has to be closer to the action. The J-31 started as a privately funded air superiority fighter, crafted by a savvy and innovative company. Nowadays, it's a government-backed project with aims of being a versatile, multi-role aircraft. Its specs are pretty close to those of the F-35. With China's technological advancements in recent years, it's not far-fetched to see the J-31 standing toe-to-toe with Western and Russian jets. Supported by the world's second-largest economy, and the biggest in terms of output, the J-31 is surfing the wave of a quickly evolving Chinese aerospace industry. Whether the J-31 and other Chinese fifth-generation fighters will truly measure up remains to be seen.